Well, tonight marks 10 years since the deadly Richmond Hill explosion. So many people, especially on the south side, remember where they were when they felt that explosion.
Yeah, you're right, Felicia. I mean, it was so powerful that night. This investigation and all of the trials lasted for years, and that blast claimed 2 lives and impacted an entire neighborhood. Today, the Richmond Hill subdivision looks like a typical South Side neighborhood. But longtime Hoosiers will never forget what happened here 10 years ago.
7744 LaSala Boulevard. Explosion.
November 10th, 2012.
But it was a glowing yellow and orange inferno.
We have extensive damage to a lot of houses along this area.
The windows all blew out.
A huge explosion rocks Richmond Hill.
It was just gone.
We've got 1 house down. We have 2 others severely damaged.
The home explosion killed the couple living next door, Jennifer and Dion Longworth.
They're very close. They liked to pick at each other a little bit, but they always laughed about things.
There were heroes that night, including a family who heard and felt the blast.
There was a giant explosion, the house shook.
We stand up, go to the front door, and it's blowing wide open. And you can see the big mushroom cloud.
The McDonald's jumped into action.
So we actually came running in right through over here where we found the first daughter.
I just pretty much grabbed her and saw she was bleeding from her head.
Dozens of homes were damaged in the blast. 30 houses would eventually be torn down. As neighbors began cleaning up and rebuilding, investigators would comb through the debris in Richmond Hill looking for clues. It was not an accident. Police say the blast was intentional, designed by the ringleader, Mark Leonard. A plot prosecutors say was to collect insurance money. Monserrate Shirley, who lived in the home that blew up, initially denied any wrongdoing.
People keep asking me question and question, like I know something, I don't know nothing.
Investigators say Bob Leonard filled the home with natural gas and rigged a microwave oven to set it off. Prosecutors dismissed all but 2 charges against Monserrate Shirley for her testimony. She was convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison. Mark Leonard, the convicted ringleader who was sentenced to life in prison, died in 2018. Bob Leonard got life in prison. Dozens of homes have been rebuilt since that blast in 2012. For those who stayed in the neighborhood, they will never forget what happened in Richmond Hill 10 years ago. Yeah, many of those homes have actually rebuilt, but the Longworth's home and Monserrate Shirley's home, those remain vacant properties tonight.
Yeah, you can see that from Drone Cam 13. What's the thought in that community about those 2 spots there? Was that intentional, or people just, out of respect, they don't want to build there, or?
Don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
So but it's just, you know, when you look again at the video of the explosion, the fires that night, obviously all of the damage. I mean, it looked like a war zone that night 10 years ago.
It certainly did. And you mentioned there that you had talked with Rich Van Wyck, and we have more of that conversation online. Maybe tell us a little bit, you know, what did he say about that night?
Well,
he covered it extensively.
Yeah, he was there from the very moment of the blast. He talked about obviously the residents there and how they feel. He covered all of the trials. He just talked about it being one of the most important stories in the 40 years of covering news here in Indianapolis. And I've talked with Rich extensively about it. You can find our conversation. We've got it on WTHR.com and on WTHR Plus.